Hi everyone, I'm Shelly from There's No Place Like Home at redheadmom8.wordpress.com. Last week I shared with you my daily routine for my kindergartner and my second grader. And this week I'm going to be sharing my daily routine for my third, fifth, sixth, seventh, and ninth grader. I hope everybody had a glorious Resurrection Sunday. Mine was very low-key, and at this point in my life, that is exactly what I needed. So the reason that I decided not to share our daily routine all in one video is because I am homeschooling 8 kids this year. And it would have been a really long video to talk about how I homeschool everyone. So instead, what I decided to do was to break it up into the groups, because in our homeschool, you are not going to walk into my house and find all of my kids sitting at little individual desks doing their own individual work. That is not how we do things. We are all about simplicity. And so we're all about group schooling, you could almost call it. I break my kids up into groups in order to do it. So that is why there are actually so many kids that I'll be covering today, is because they all learn together in a group. And again, I'm going to just remind you that that is 3rd, 5th, 6th, 7th, and 9th grade this year. So first of all, let me just point out that our homeschool is not going to look anything at all like a school system. It is not about textbooks. It's not about grade levels. We are very relaxed homeschoolers. We rely a lot on Charlotte Mason learning. We rely a lot on interest-led learning. And that is really the focal point of our homeschool, which is why group schooling is so easy in our house. So let me just let you know, first of all, that our homeschool day for my children at this age is usually about 2 to 2.5 hours a day. That's it. I know that a lot of people are really intimidated about homeschooling because they think that it has to last like 5 or 6 hours a day. And if you are replicating school, that is very likely to happen. But if you are taking advantage of the freedom that comes along with homeschooling and realizing that you don't have to do things that way, schooling happens so much quicker. And you know, it's really important to remember when you are schooling in a shorter amount of time like that, you have to remember that learning happens all the time. It isn't just something that happens within the confines of certain hours of the day. Your kids are not only learning when you are doing school with them, they are learning throughout every single thing that goes on from the time that they wake up until the time that they go to bed. You can bet that the wheels are turning in their head and they are picking up new information. So when we start our homeschool day, we usually begin with everybody together with devotions. And that does include our littles, my kindergartner and my second grader. So we will do devotions together. After that happens, they will go off and they'll go play for a while, my 2 littles, and I will focus on this group that I am sharing about with you today. The next thing that we typically do is we will read the Bible together. We do not do any sort of Bible curriculum. We just read the Bible together. Right now we are working through Mark. We were working through Genesis at one point, but since we're covering a lot of Genesis with our Beautiful Feet Books curriculum, I decided to not be redundant, so we decided to go to New Testament, and since we had already read all of Matthew, now we're in Mark together. But that is it. We usually will only read one section of the Bible each day. I'm not going to make it last, 45 minutes. This is usually just something that we do probably for about 15 minutes every day. After devotions, we will sit and read the Bible together. And how we do that is I will tell them we are doing, for example, we're reading Mark chapter 1, and we're going to read verses 1 through 24 today. And so I will usually start with verse 1, and the child who is sitting next to me will do verse 2, verse 3, and we just keep going around like that until the assigned section, or the section that I wanted to cover, is finished. So that is the next thing that we do together, is Bible. And then we will very often talk about what that passage was about, and a lot of times how we can actually come to terms with that in today's world and how we can apply that. So the second thing that we do after Bible is read aloud. Read aloud is like our foundational time of the day. It is the time that we really, really enjoy doing together the most. And so what better way to start your day than by just, being cozy, and when it's cold outside, covering up with some blankets or maybe getting some hot chocolate, and just relaxing and listening to a good story. So yes, read aloud time is the next part of our homeschool day. And very often I will stop every few pages and I will have my kids take turns narrating. Narrating is very important just because I want to make sure that my kids are paying attention. My kids are wiggle worms. They like to bounce all over the place. So it's not like read alouds were something that right off the bat when we first started trying to do them, that they just worked for us right away. It has been a long road getting to the point that we're at with read alouds. Right now our read alouds will usually last anywhere from 20 minutes to sometimes even 45 minutes. We usually read about a chapter a day together. And I have a video about read alouds, and I'll link that in the description box, but suffice it to say that this isn't something that my kids were automatically able to sit for 45 minutes listening to a book. We started out brief, and then we just got a little bit longer, and then we got up to this point. But yes, narration is the next thing that we do. So after the read aloud is finished, that is when we will typically do our unit study learning together. Now, right now, we are going through Beautiful Feet Books, Ancient History together. And that is what I am calling our unit study right now. We will usually do, now with Beautiful Feet Books, I will usually do one whole lesson a day together. But there are some lessons in this book that are a little bit longer and consist of a little bit more activities. And when it comes to unit studies, I try to keep our unit study day to about 2 activities, because that's how far I know I can, my kids' attention span will go. Anything more than like 2 or 3 activities, and I will start to lose my kids. They will start drifting. And there's really no point in doing things with your kids if you know that they're not going to retain it anyway. So yes, we will do a lesson of Beautiful Feet Books together. If it's a long lesson, we'll pick out about 2 items out of that lesson. And if we have to even take 2 or 3 days to do one lesson, that's fine with me. I am not concerned about getting a curriculum done in a certain amount of time. Now, sometimes we're not using Beautiful Feet Books. Right now we have been for the past couple of months, and we probably will be through the rest of the year. When we are not using Beautiful Feet Books, we use CONUS character curriculum, which is a unit study curriculum. And same thing there. If we're doing CONUS curriculum, two activities per day for that unit study. So after that, after the unit study time is over, that is when we will do our 3 R's learning. And that is really when they will break apart into their own individual levels, because there are so many different age groups, so many different grade levels that I have learning together at this point. Now, I should point out that ancient history that we do, this says that it's for 5th through 8th grade. Now, if you remember, I do have a 3rd grader doing it. So she is basically along for the ride. And she's actually having a lot of fun doing this with her older siblings. And you also remember that I do have a 9th grader. And since this does go up to 8th grade, I'm perfectly comfortable with that. And if I ever feel the need to tweak things to make things a little bit more difficult for her, I will do that. But so far, it's been okay. As for CONUS curriculum, that is actually listed for kindergarten through 8th grade. And again, since my daughter is just in 9th grade, I'm perfectly comfortable with that whole 8th, 9th grade thing. And I'm okay with tweaking things as well. And I actually did do a video about homeschooling high school with CONUS. And I just talked about how I changed things around to make it fit higher levels. I will leave that in the description box as well. So getting back to the 3R learning, when we really start breaking out into our different levels. First of all, I have to say that my kids will all do cursive. Yeah, this has been used all year. That's why it looks like this. They will do cursive up until they are finished. When they are finished with that cursive book, that is when I have been starting my kids recently on dailygrams. So I don't have them do both every day. If they are still in their cursive book, they just do cursive. If they have completed their entire cursive book, that is when they move on to dailygrams. Now, my 9th grader, I do have a junior and senior high dailygrams for her. I just don't have it sitting here on the table with me. So that is the next thing that they will do. They will work on either cursive or dailygrams, depending on if they finished cursive or not and have moved on to dailygrams at this point. At this time, they will also do their spelling. And I use Natural Speller for everybody. That's where I get their word lists from. I do not do the activities that are in Natural Speller. I find them just a bit too schoolish for our taste, but they do have excellent word lists. So what I do is I just go by the word lists for each individual grade level. So like my daughter who is in 7th grade, I will get her words from the grade 7 list. All that I have my kids do is I assign 10 new words at the beginning of each week, and they will write those words 3 times each every day. That is all that I do for my kids for spelling, and it has been working phenomenally. It is amazing how much their spelling has improved just from doing something as simple as this. 3 times each day, a new list each week, 10 words a week. It takes them 5 or 10 minutes, but it has really, really improved their spelling. So after they are done with that, what they will typically do is something from our language arts loop. Now, I don't want to confuse you too much about a language arts loop. I might make a video about it in the future just so that I can describe it more. But basically what my language arts loop means is that after they have done these 2 things, we will either be doing interest-led learning, copy work, journaling, or Mad Libs. We don't do all 4 of those things every day. We do one of them each day. So if it is, for example, our journaling day, they will, after they are done with these things, they will do their journaling, and that is it. So if you don't know what a loop schedule is, what it basically is that you have a certain itemized list of activities that you want to cover, but that you don't want to do every day. So you just go through them, one at a time. Like one day you do interest-led learning. The next day you will do copy work. The next day, journaling. The next day, Mad Libs. Once that loop is over, you go back to the beginning again, and you start with interest-led learning, then copy work. And it just goes on and on and on like that throughout the year. So that is what their language arts loop is. Now, I just brought over, here, I'll show you this one. This is just what the copy work looks like too. I know that a lot of people are curious. My kids like to decorate their copy work. So copy work is really just copying things out of a book. My kids are using a Light in the Attic. So that is what they will do. If it is their language arts loop day for copy work, they will do that. And I hope that I'm not like completely losing you at this point, because I know that it sounds confusing, but it's not. And I will do a quick run through at the end of the video, like saying everything again, just so that you can maybe get a better idea, since I'm talking a lot right now. Now, anyway, so after that is done, they will usually do multiplication flashcards, either alone or together. It depends. They can just do it however they want. But that's just because I really want them to have it in their head. I want them to know their multiplication like boom, 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 boom. I don't want them to have to count on their fingers. I don't want them to have to add in their head. I want them to know their multiplication right away, because it makes life so much easier. So flashcards is something that they do next. After that, they will do ctcmath.com. I just did a video on that, so I'll link that in the description box as well. I love, love, love ctcmath.com. As you can tell with the .com, it's an online learning, and it is something that is so to the point. The videos that come with it are so effective. They're short. The lessons are usually only about 10 problems long, but it's something that has really helped my kids to not only learn math, but to not hate math anymore. Now, I will point out that my 3rd grader at this point, she is still doing Abeka Math. I usually have been using Abeka Math up until 3rd grade. And then at 4th grade is when I've been starting them in ctcmath.com, just because I think that up until 3rd grade, doing things by hand in a workbook really seems to help like with their fine motor skills. And at this point, they really like to color, when it tells you to do the addition problems or the subtraction problems and then color it certain colors. They really seem to enjoy those activities. And I also noticed that 3rd grade is a really good cutoff for Abeka, because once Abeka goes into 4th grade, it seems to get more into the drill and kill, which is what I really try to avoid when it comes to math. So that is why CTC Math, from 4th grade all the way up through high school, we use it. And there is no drill and kill with ctcmath.com. And I have to point it out, there is no Common Core with ctcmath.com either, or with Abeka. Neither one of them is Common Core. So if you're trying to avoid that, you would definitely, want to check these 2 curriculums out. Now, so if you remember, we start out with devotions, then we do Bible, read aloud, 2 unit study activities a day, and then they will do either cursive and grammar, or cursive or grammar, spelling, one thing from our language arts loop, flashcards, and math. And this might sound like a whole bunch of stuff that they have to do, but again, I'm going to remind you, it only takes us about 2 to 2.5 hours a day to complete everything. So even though it sounds like a lot, it really is not. Now, in order to confuse you even more, if you saw my video for my littles, you might kind of be expecting this. If you haven't, I'm going to explain it now. This schedule that I just described to you right now really only happens for us twice a week. Say, for example, on Mondays and Wednesdays. On Tuesdays and Thursdays, we will do everything that I just described for you, except we will not do our unit study together on Tuesdays and Thursdays. On Tuesdays and Thursdays, instead of doing unit study, I will get all of their other work done earlier, and that will allow them more time to do their interest-led learning, which is really, really super important for any age at all. And you know, kids, they really need time to explore. They need time to seek out their own interests. They need time to just get out there and figure out how things work. And if we have them bogged down with too much schoolwork, that's just not going to happen. So on Tuesdays and Thursdays, they do everything that I just described to you, except for the unit study activities. And that does allow them for more times to get that interest-led learning done that I do give time for all of my kids to do. So then you're probably wondering what happens Fridays. Fridays is typically our nature study day. That is when we will go out and we will do gardening, or we might take a nature study walk. We might go to the creek. Anything that has to do with nature is what typically will get done on a Friday. So I think that I actually covered everything. If you have any questions, you are probably going to have to go over to my Instagram page, because YouTube still has not enabled my comments again. It's been taking forever, and it's really annoying because I know that a lot of people miss having that community in the comments that we used to have here, but there's really nothing that I can do about it. It's frustrating. So if you would like me to explain anything further, if you have any questions, I will leave my Instagram link in the description box, and you can always go over there and you can go on any of my posts. I don't care which one. And you can just say, I just saw this video and I have a question, and then just ask me there. It's totally fine. I'm just glad to be able to communicate with you somehow. So anyway, that's all that I have for you today. If you like this video, give it a thumbs up. If you haven't subscribed yet and would like to hear more of what I have to say, I would love if you would do that. Again, questions or comments, you will probably have to go to Instagram. If they finally enable my comments, you can gladly leave a comment below. And if you like my work, you can check out my Patreon page and see what rewards I have for my patrons there. And I hope you have a great day.